Hello and welcome to this FPL Gameweek 38 team selection video with me, Holly Shand. We're almost at the end of the season, but it's still a very difficult game week to navigate, so lots to discuss today. Thank you for sticking by me. I think I'm over my sinusitis now. I appreciate all the kind messages that have been sent, and I'm really close to 18k subscribers, so help me get over the line before the end of the season. Let's get into it. Starting off with how my team's been progressing, game week 36 saw red arrows being 0.1 million off Callum Wilson and having to go with Isaac instead definitely didn't help me there with the 34-point swing. I'm back on green arrows for game week 37. I've got Fabian Schär coming off my bench for a 6-pointer with Grealish absent from the squad. Not going with Haaland captain hasn't punished me too much, and triple Manchester United tonight. I've got high hopes for them going forward, so hopefully boost me up those rankings going into the final week of the season. My transfer in Alvarez helped me out with a 9-pointer, and I think he's got a good chance of starting in game week 38, given that Haaland played 90 minutes against Brighton last night. Transfer plans then, I've got one free transfer and 0.9 million in the bank. There's a lot of headaches on who to start, who to bench, who's going to play as well, because there's not that much motivation for some sides. We've got, I guess a lot depends on whether Manchester United get points on the board tonight to secure their Champions League progression. But I really feel like with a lot of teams on the beach, game week 38 is going to be a bit of a nightmare, particularly for those of us that have got a lot of assets from Man City, Newcastle as well. I'm not as concerned about Man United because they have got a home game, and I think that does just give that added impetus. In terms of the issues in my squad, I'm hopeful that Rashford will return tonight and I can lock him in as a starter in game week 38. Probably the weakest area of my squad though is Jack Grealish, currently flagged with a knock. He's probably had a heavy one after celebrating City's title win, and with a lack of starts in recent weeks, I've not got much hope of him starting in game week 38. So I think he's going to be the key player to replace this week. I think, you know, in terms of transfers, we see a higher number of goals in game week 38. So it's important to, you know, focus those transfers on attacking players rather than defensive players, and certainly with one free transfer, it's not really a week to take a hit unless it's captaincy that you've got in mind when making those moves. In terms of transfers in then, there's a few names in the frame. Crystal Palace have got a home game against Nottingham Forest, who are now safe, and Eze has the form as well with 3 goals and 1 assist in his last 4 appearances. He's seen lots of transfer traffic in. Obviously Palace are on the beach, but a home game does give them some motivation to entertain their home fans on the final day of the season. I could look towards the relegation battle as well, and kind of wanting to stay clear of the Leicester midfielders because Barnes and Maddison were both benched last time out against Liverpool, so there's no guarantees that they start, even though that seemed like an odd decision given their league position. Leeds United have got Rodrigo, but he's currently flagged, which is a bit of a concern because he's their top goal scorer this season. Scored a brace against Spurs last time out as well. I think probably if you are getting invested in a midfielder in the relegation fight for survival, Dwight McNeil's probably the one to go for. He got that 21-pointer against Brighton a couple of weeks ago, and Everton have it in their hands in terms of staying up. They're going to be doing everything to get that win. So I think McNeil is a good pick, but I think the player that I'm most likely to go with is Arsenal's Martin Odegaard. Obviously massively disappointing for Arsenal to miss out on the title after being in a leading position for so long this season, but a home game against Wolves gives them plenty of potential to celebrate what's been a very good season for them given how they've performed over recent years. And Odegaard has the form as well in terms of his goal scoring. He is Arsenal's top goal scorer this season. 5 of his goals have come since the international break. He's Arsenal's captain. I think he scored a brace in the reverse fixture again against Wolves as well. So I think he's a really attractive option. But in terms of my transfers, I'm unlikely to make those transfers until Sunday, close to the deadline. We could get some significant team leaks before the deadline, which comes at 3 o'clock UK time, so I'm going to be keeping an eye on those before locking in my decisions. But right now, I think it's going to be Grealish out and Odegaard in. Team selection time then, and the headaches don't stop. I've got some big decisions to make right across the pitch. In between the sticks, I can choose between Kepa at home to Newcastle or Steele away at Aston Villa. Now, Aston Villa still have a chance of clinching 7th place and European football next season. They are in the leading position for that, so I can see Villa scoring, which is why I feel like going with Kepa at home to Newcastle, who have secured Champions League football, could be the safer pick. I've had a quick look at the bookies odds as well, and Chelsea have a higher clean sheet potential than Brighton. Moving into the defence then, and I've got to play Trent away to Southampton in his new midfield position. He's still cropping up with those attacking returns. He had a flurry of assists. He's also got a goal in recent games as well. He's not a player that I'm prepared to bench. And Luke Shaw's also going to get the nod with the home game against Fulham. I think he's performed very well since coming back into the side, and Manchester United have kept a great number of clean sheets this season. De Gea onto the Golden Glove, so I think Shaw is a wise start there. Now, I think I am going to look to bench Trippier and Schär away at Chelsea just because it's an away fixture and Newcastle have got their things sewn up. In preference, I'm going to start Mings at home to Brighton. It is a tough fixture on paper for Aston Villa, but as I mentioned already, a win would secure them European football. Brighton have already achieved what they set out to do this season, and I do think that Mings has got a higher potential for clean sheets over Newcastle, again, having checked those bookies odds. Moving into midfield then, and Martin Odegaard is coming in here with a home game against Wolves, and he's flanked by Bruno Fernandes and Marcus Rashford for the home game against Fulham. Manchester United have been in fantastic form this season at home. Rashford in particular, I think 11 of his 16 goals have come at home, so hopefully he's fit enough to start and can deliver. Fernandes on pens as well. Not that keen on Matoma away to Aston Villa. He's not a player that I particularly fancy, but I'm not prepared to take a hit to improve that spot because it's very difficult to repay a 4-point hit with just one game to go. Brentford's De Silva is also dropping to the bench. I've put him last, preferring to go Trippier and Schär, and then my forward line is going to be made up of 2 Manchester City forwards in Haaland and Alvarez. I don't think Haaland will start. I do think Alvarez will, but I'm not prepared to drop Haaland because we know what he can do even with limited minutes. And I've also got Kane, a must-win game for Spurs to ensure that they've got some European football next season, but they need other results to go their way as well. When it comes to captaincy then, there's, quite a few options this week. It is very open. Obviously, I don't own Mo Salah, who's away at Southampton, who I think will be a very popular captain pick. I also think that Haaland will remain a very strong captain pick as well, away at Brentford. Just because of where I am in terms of rankings, I'm happy to take the risk and go against Haaland because I'm not convinced of his starts. Don't really fancy Alvarez either, though, because I'm not convinced of his minutes. So then it comes down to Kane, Odegaard and Rashford. Obviously, Manchester United have still got the FA Cup final to come up to try and stop City winning the treble. So if there is any hint of that injury issue for Rashford still lingering, we could see his minutes managed. So he's kind of out the equation. Odegaard and Kane, I'm convinced they'll both start and play 90 minutes. I just feel like Kane has a little bit more to play for because obviously Spurs do need to win to get that 7th place spot in the Premier League and European football. Obviously Leeds need to win and other results go their way in order to stay up, but Leeds are going to have to attack in order to accomplish that, and that will leave room for Kane, who scored very heavily in a reverse fixture against Leeds. Spurs have been very clinical on the counter-attack, particularly through Kane, and he's on penalties as well. So a 90-minute man who loves a goal on the final day of the season, by the way. I think he's got 9 goals for Spurs on final days 3 seasons gone by. I think he's going to be my captain with potentially Odegaard as vice-captain. Any questions or dilemmas about your own team, do get in the comments and I'll do my best to answer all of them within 24 hours of this video going live. This is the final long-form video of the season, but I'll be back as usual on Friday at 1 o'clock UK time for the press conference stream, final stream of the season. So really appreciate anyone that can make it along to that one. And if you haven't hit that subscribe button, please do. I'm so close to 18k subscribers. All of your support to reach that will be really appreciated and will make my Game Week 38. Good luck, everyone.